Why is it that every time England reaches 30 degrees, the country struggles to function? The trains slow down, offices turn into ovens, schools can send children home, and half the country starts sleeping downstairs on the sofa with a wet flannel on their face. Surely, after all of these hot summers, we should have air conditioning by now. Well, historically, England's climate means keeping warm was usually a bigger problem than keeping cool. Lots of countries build to keep heat out, whereas England has spent centuries trying to keep heat in. Hello, I'm Amy and welcome back to my channel. I've been making videos on things that really interest me, which are English history, geography, landscape, language, and working class ordinary people. A lot of history is filled with doom and gloom, so I'm wanting to focus on the more positive sides of England and enjoy learning about the country that I live in. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button. When we look at an average English town, we see brick terraces, stone cottages, Victorian houses with pretty small windows. That wasn't by accident. For hundreds of years, the biggest challenge wasn't overheating. It was getting through damp, cold winters. Thick brick and stone walls have a high thermal mass. They absorb heat slowly and then release it slowly. This is exactly what we needed during winters because houses stayed warmer for longer. But during a heat wave, those same walls work against us. They gradually soak up the day's heat, and once they're warm, they can keep bedrooms hot well into the night. So the very thing that keeps traditional English homes cosy in January can make them unbearable in July. In countries with long hot summers, you'll often see shutters, balconies, covered walkways. These aim to block out the midday sun from hitting the windows. England didn't really need those. Sunshine was more of a bonus than it was a problem. People actually wanted as much daylight as possible, and this was considered more important than blocking out the heat. In England, we find a lot of large south-facing windows with little to no external shade and no external shutters. This has never been a problem until more recently, where now these heat-saving tactics are heating up homes in unprecedented heat waves. England has what's known as a maritime climate. That simply means we're surrounded by sea, and the sea has a huge influence on our weather. Water heats up much more slowly than the land. It also cools down much more slowly as well. Think about a paddling pool on a sunny day. It takes hours to warm up, but once it does, it stays warm for a while. The ocean works in exactly the same way, just on a much bigger scale. During winter, the surrounding sea is often much warmer than the land. It releases stored heat into the atmosphere, helping to moderate temperatures and making winters generally milder than they would have otherwise been. During summer, the sea is usually cooler than the land. It absorbs heat and helps moderate temperatures, especially near the coast, and this helps reduce the heat compared to inland areas. In other words, the sea acts as a giant temperature regulator. That's one reason why England has traditionally had relatively mild winters and fairly moderate summers compared with places with a similar latitude. And there's another thing that impacts England's climate. Most of our weather arrives from the Atlantic Ocean on prevailing southwesterly winds. Those winds usually bring humid, relatively mild air across the country. And that's why grey skies, drizzle and changeable weather has become such a familiar part of life here. For centuries, England's climate wasn't one of extremes, it was one of moderation. And why that's important is because people build for the climate they expect. If your biggest challenge every year is staying warm, dry and comfortable for months on end, that's what your homes are designed to do. We invest in heating in our homes. It used to be fireplaces, but now we install central heating. We choose to build with stones that hold on to heat, and generally we don't spend money on air conditioning that might only be useful every once in a while. For hundreds of years, this has worked perfectly, but now it's all beginning to change. Climate change is making heat waves more frequent and more intense. Our buildings haven't suddenly just become worse. England wasn't built for the weather we've started having. It was built for the weather that we've had for centuries. England's railways have been designed for the range of temperatures that has historically been most common. When temperatures become unusually high, engineers slow down trains because the rails can expand enough to increase the risk of track buckling. Not only would this be an expensive repair, more importantly, it could be a major safety issue. Our railway systems have been designed to last decades, so slowing down trains is an easy alternative to replacing our current infrastructure. Although this slowing down heavily impacts the country, as we rely so much on train travel. Most of England's housing was built long before air conditioning even existed. Millions of Victorian and Edwardian homes are still occupied today. Unlike countries where rapid post-war development created huge numbers of modern buildings, England still lives inside many of its older ones. Adding air conditioning after isn't just expensive. Older buildings may need electrical upgrades, planning permission, or alterations that aren't straightforward, particularly if it's a listed building. Some older homes just aren't easy to upgrade with modern technology. For generations, buying central heating made sense because every winter you'd use it. Until recently, many parts of England only experienced a small number of hot days each year. For most households, it simply wasn't worth the cost to install and run. That's slowly beginning to change as hotter summers become more frequent. But upgrading millions of buildings, well, that takes decades. This is seen in historical buildings too. In England, we have many older buildings. We want to avoid damaging historical interiors and preserve them as much as possible. Schools are a great example of buildings which struggle with the changing temperatures. Many were built in Victorian times, Edwardian times, and even mid-20th century, and they usually relied on opening windows and high ceilings because overheating simply wasn't a major concern. Let's do some quick facts. Most homes in England have loft insulation. It's brilliant at keeping in heat during winter, but during a heat wave, it can also mean that once your house gets hot, it takes longer to cool down, especially at night. Many older schools were designed to maximise natural daylight because good lighting was considered essential for learning. In some cases, this included large south-facing windows, although many schools also use north-facing or carefully placed windows to provide bright, even light. The UK has one of Europe's oldest housing stocks, with many homes built before air conditioning became a practical or common feature of residential buildings. These buildings were designed to retain heat, not stay cool. Heat waves are becoming more frequent and intense because of climate change, but buildings and infrastructure are designed to last for decades, so adapting them to hotter summers is happening much more slowly than the climate itself is changing. So when England struggles in a heat wave, it's easy to think something's going wrong, but it's actually the opposite. Everything is working perfectly for the climate we've known for centuries. Unfortunately, climate change is impacting our temperatures faster than we can adapt. The hidden pattern isn't that England forgot to prepare for summer, it's that for centuries, hot temperatures weren't the problem, cold temperatures were. Thank you for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I am going to log off now because I am very warm. See you next time.